Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear. You know, probably about as long as we've had firearms, we've had opinions on which gun or which caliber or what was better suited for certain circumstances, especially when we're talking about self-defense. And you know, I can remember as a boy my father and my uncle having some pretty passionate discussions on which one was better, the 357 Magnum or the 45 ACP. I know there's been tons of articles written about that, and there are still tons of more articles written about new calibers like, I don't know, 40 Smith & Wesson, 357 SIG, 9mm, all types of guns, semi-automatic and revolver and so forth and so on. And you know, that debate will never be settled. There's very good points of view on all those sides, and with all those different calibers, especially the main self-defense calibers. But you know, I saw a video, and it's been a while back now, and I've been meaning to make this video, and I just haven't taken the time to do it, from Matt over at NeverEnuffAmmo. And he interjected something different to the conversation, or at least different than what I have seen in the past. And that is capacity. And he was making the case that the capacity of a firearm is extremely important when deciding a gun to use for defense. And he had seen or read some data showing that, you know, in a lot of self-defense scenarios, more than one round is needed, especially with handguns, to stop an attack. And therefore, he was saying that, you know, capacity is extremely important when choosing a weapon for defense. Now, the standard, or example I should say, of the gun that he used was the Glock 17. Now, what you'll see in the middle of the table there is a bucket full of bullets, and I can't really take credit for that. I either heard that in a class that I took with Clint Smith over at Thunder Ranch, or I'd seen him write that in one of the articles that he writes for the different periodicals. But at any rate, he was referring to some of the polymer wonders that we have out there that carry a whole bucket full of bullets. So what I thought I would do is place that bucket of bullets in the middle of the table here, and I have, for my discussion on capacity, two different categories. Now, on this side of the bucket, we have guns that have a cylinder or magazine capacity of 10 rounds or less, okay? And on this side, we of course have all semi-automatic pistols with a magazine capacity of greater than 10 rounds, all right? Now, this is a discussion about defensive guns, handguns, and so therefore, what I have on the table here, I hope to be a pretty good selection of guns that people may consider when choosing a gun for defense, okay? So quickly, remember now that Matt chose the excellent Glock 17, and it has a magazine capacity of 17 rounds of 9mm. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to place that right on top of the bucket, because that is the standard for this conversation as far as NeverEnuffAmmo's point of view. Now, first off, I'm not going to say that I disagree with everything that Matt was saying. Quite honestly, I think all the data that I've seen over the years, and I've seen some pretty amazing stuff from going from one side to another. It's hard to figure how they think sometimes. But in most cases, there are more than one round fired. I think the average for a defensive shooting is something like 2 rounds or something of that nature. It's not very much. But in order for that to be an average, there obviously had to have been many times where more than one round was fired. Okay, so on this side of the table we have the higher capacity pistols. All right, and I'm going to go through them really quickly because I know people are going to ask me, what is that gun in the middle to the left, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to go over these guns and their capacity in their magazines really quickly. All right, this gun right here is the M&P. This is the compact. It's a 9mm, has 12 rounds in the magazine. And this right here is the excellent Glock 23 40 Smith & Wesson. Has 13 rounds in the magazine. Okay. This happens to be the Sig Sauer 229 12 round capacity 40 Smith & Wesson. This is the M&P 40. This was the original M&P semi-automatic that they came out with in this series. It has 15 round capacity in a magazine. This is the XDM. It's also in 40 Smith & Wesson, and it has 16 round capacity in a magazine. This happens to be the awesome HKP 30, most comfortable gun I've ever placed in my hand. And it's in 40 Smith & Wesson, 13 rounds in the magazine. Down here we have a powerhouse. This is the Glock 20. This is 10 millimeter, has 15 rounds in the magazine. 92 FS, 9 millimeter, 15 rounds in these magazines, but I understand the Berettas are distributed now with 17 round flush fitting magazines. This is the HK USP Expert, excellent firearm. I have added the jet funnel system, and the magazines that go with that now are 16 round magazines. And this is the gun that you've heard me say several times that I keep for home protection. This is the Para Night Tac. It has a light double action trigger, standard capacity of 14 round magazines, and pre-band magazines are 15 rounds, and I got a decent handful of that. But that's 45 ACP. Now on the lesser capacity side of the table, we have the gun that's probably the #1 gun for concealed carry. It's a J-frame 38 Special. This is an excellent little gun. This is the Colt Delta Elite. It's in 10 millimeter, and it has both 8 and 9 round standard capacity magazines. By the way, this little J-frame's a 5-shot. Down here we have the Walther PPS, an excellent little gun for concealed carry. It's a 9 millimeter. It has magazines of 6 rounds, 7 rounds, and 8 rounds. And I prefer the 7 round magazine because it gives me a little bit more to hang on to, and it's not too long. This gun right here probably is the gun that I've carried the most in the last 2 years. This is a M&P 45 Compact, and it has a standard 8 round magazine. This is a Glock 29. This is the 10 millimeter Compact, and it has a capacity of 10 rounds in the magazine. This right here, man, what an awesome looking gun, isn't it? Isn't that a beautiful handgun? Sometimes you just can't help but notice how fine a handgun can look. This is the Model 66, and it's in a 3-inch barrel. It's a 6-shot 357 Magnum, and to many years ago, this was considered the ultimate in concealed weapons and fighting handguns right here. A 3-inch 357 Magnum. All right, down here we have a great big end-framed 357 Magnum. It has an 8 round capacity in the cylinder. Here's another 357 Magnum. This gun is a little bit on the rare side. It was only produced 1 year. This is the Colt Magnum Carry. It was the final edition of their Colt Detective Special type of guns. It's in 357 Magnum. This was actually the very first Colt Detective Special type gun that I ever owned. I bought this years ago. But like I said earlier, they only made it 1 year. I think that was in '99 or 2000. Now here's a really nice little gun. This is the Car TP40. Now the TP series is a little bit longer. It has a 4-inch slide and barrel. The capacity is standard 6 with a extended magazine of 7. And then we have the old warhorse itself, the 1911 series of handguns. And you do know that they are just a multitude of different types of 1911s that are on the market, and sizes and shapes and everything else. But the gun for the standard 1911 for many years, many decades I should say, was 7 rounds in the magazine. Along and around the 1990s, we started getting 8 round flush fitting magazines that actually worked. And so pretty much today, if you buy a new gun, standard capacity magazines, and many of those guns is 8 rounds of 45 ACP. Now, as far as capacity in the realm of defense. I have never ever considered capacity as a determining factor, although I do think about capacity. I mean, I think caliber, I think the gun itself, I think most importantly is the good quality instruction and the dedicated practice and training that you do with the gun after that instruction is much more important than how many rounds the guns hold. Now, I do say that, but I also believe that a Derringer, which is a fine firearm, as a backup, would never be a gun that I would consider carrying as my primary defensive gun. One of the reasons is obviously it only holds 2 rounds. But at any rate, when we're talking about your basic array of guns, such as the ones that I have laid on this table, I don't really consider one better than the other by way of capacity. I don't know. Just a little while ago, I'll give you an example. Just a little while ago, I had a fellow that commented on one of my revolver videos that revolvers were no good for defense anymore because people attack you now in groups of 10 and 12. And to be honest with you, if you're going to be attacked by 10 to 12 people and a standard range for attacks begin at like 5 and 7 yards, you're going to be in a world of hurt. I mean, you're going to really have a bad day. And it doesn't matter if you have a 16 round 40 Smith & Wesson or a 5-shot 38. There's just no way you're going to be able to deal with 8, 10, 12 people who are determined to hurt you. Okay? My first instinct is run, create distance, do something, yell, scream, do something, get away from there. But if there's no way that you can run and you're going to have to engage such a large group of people, then I guess your only hope is that if you were able to poke a couple of holes in a couple of those folks, maybe the rest of them will stop attacking you. Because other than that, you by yourself are not going to stop or prevent them from harming you. You are definitely going to have a bad day. I think the only way to combat 10 or 12 guys attacking you at close range is to have 10 or 12 of your own folks with you and have them armed also. That's going to be the best bet. The bet, actually better than that, is to make sure you don't find yourself in that kind of a scenario. But at any rate, guns, I mean, when you look at firearms and you look at handguns and what makes a good defensive firearm, to me capacity isn't one of the first considerations. I'll be honest with you, I really like this gun. I have a Model 65 also, which is the same as this gun except it has fixed sights. It doesn't have the adjustable sights. And I've carried that gun quite a bit over my life, and I've never felt like I did not have a suitable handgun for defense. All right. On the same token, I've carried that P30 or that Glock 23, that M&P. Every one of these guns that are on this table, at one time or another, I have loaded these weapons for defense. That means that I have trusted them to protect me and my family. Okay? So I don't think any of these guns would be a bad choice for defense. All right? To me, the competency with the firearm is much more important than how many rounds that are in the magazine. And it doesn't matter if you have 17 rounds or 70 rounds. If you don't have the proper training and you can't use the weapon with the efficiency and competency that you should be able to use this weapon, it's not going to matter the round count that you have. And just remember, every round you fire has a lawyer attached to it. Okay? I just read a comment recently from somebody that left me, from an instructor that had told them and resonated with them, and it's excellent. There's no such thing as a missed shot. That bullet is going to hit something. Now, it may hit the grass, but it may hit someone's car. It may go into someone's house and damage a TV or whatever. It may accidentally hit someone else. So there's no such thing as a missed round. So the idea of having lots of bullets and just shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting should be the furthest thing from your mind. You want a gun that is powerful enough to stop an individual in their attack in an efficient manner. Okay? So these are my thoughts. This is by no means me trying to disagree with Matt or anything, but I have some different opinions. Obviously, if I didn't like capacity, I wouldn't have any of these firearms over here. It really didn't make a difference to me whether this gun held 12 or this gun held 15. I think both of these guns are excellent guns, and that is the more of a determining factor to me than the capacity. All right, folks. Well, that's my. Oh, wait a minute. You know, Matt said that he liked the 45 ACP, but guns just don't have enough, are made with enough capacity, and 15 rounds may not be enough capacity for Matt. So I wanted to give him some ideas. Here's the good old 1911, and here's an 8-round magazine. And everybody knows they make 10-round magazines for it, but that still may not be enough capacity for Matt. So I have a suggestion for you, my brother. This right here is a 25-round magazine. And yes, it is a real working magazine. How about that for some capacity? Maybe a little hard to conceal carry, but 25 rounds of ACP, man, that's some pretty decent capacity right there. And now here's another example. Here's the Glock 29. As I said before, it has a 10-round magazine capacity. And you can use, with Glocks, you can use the larger handguns, their magazines. This is a Glock 20 magazine with a 2-round extension. So that's 17 rounds of 10mm. That's a lot of firepower right there. But I know what you're saying. You're going to say, well, my Glock 17, I can get 33-round magazines for it. Well, how about this right here? This is the magazine from my Chris Super V. It's a 45 ACP carbine, and it uses Glock 21 magazines. And this is a kit that adds on capacity and brings it all the way up to 30 rounds. But if you take this magazine off and you put a Glock 20 magazine on it for the 10mm, you can get about 36 10mm rounds in this magazine right here. How about that? 36 rounds of 10mm. That is a ton of firepower right there. All right, folks. I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for watching my video. And remember to shoot straight on the range and in life. Thanks.